Hi.
Long time no see.
Yeah. Is that Marsha?
Yes, it is.
Hey.
All
How you
right, we're
doing?
live.
Okay, we're live. We started our program, our Sunday night program, in Pearls of Wisdom. It is a program brought to you by Pearls of Living through a Say So production ministry. Now, I want to start up tonight by reading a scripture and saying a prayer, to give you a direction for what God has led us, leading us for this particular ministry. And really, we've already been going all over these places. But in Matthew chapter 28, when they saw him, well, let me start at 16. Then the 11 disciples went away into Galilee, into a mountain where Jesus had appointed them. And when they saw him, they worshiped him, but some doubted. And Jesus came and spake unto them, saying, all power is given unto me in heaven and in earth. Go ye therefore and teach all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and of the Son and the Holy Ghost, teaching them to observe all things whatsoever I have commanded you. And lo, I am with you always, even unto the end of the world. Amen. Let us pray. God, we thank you tonight for all you've done, for all we know you're going to do. We thank you for where you have brought us and where you've carried us to. And we ask now that you would go before us this night and lead us and guide us in the ways that be pleasing in your sight, that we can do everything according to your will and what you've already given us. We thank you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. And that's what I read that scripture, Matthew 28, because that's where God has guided us to this particular ministry. It is a global ministry. It's I'm not trying to we're not trying to just say we are just centered on changing our street, our little corner town. We're trying to do something to change the whole world. Matter of fact, we're trying to just make a difference in the world. And making that difference in the world, you can check this out. We're going to be people of love, people who love God and who love each other. And because of that, we love our community. People of integrity, people you can trust. In other words, that's what integrity is. You can trust it. You can trust this ministry to do the right thing, to bring you the best available information at all times. And we are people of faith. We believe that we can do all things through Christ who strengthens us. But then we are people who are going to finish what we start. Trust us. If you bring us in to do any kind of project, whether it's preaching, whatever it is, we're going to finish it. We're not going to start something and stop in the middle of the road. And this particular series that he has given us on Pearls of Wisdom, we have brought you all kind of information about the family, about being better together, and everything from people who have written books on the major subjects, from funding your kingdom vision of Aaron Hedgeman. And last week we had Pastor McFarland and his book on what is life, ministry after divorce, and showing his strong comeback, and so many people in between that we've had. And just to look at the list, I'm very excited about the list we've had. And guess what? We're bringing you some more exciting things in the very near future. You want to stay with us. You want to hang in here with us, because listen, we got big announcements coming up somewhere around the first quarter of November. Major announcements going to be happening, things happening for Pearls of Wisdom, Pearls of Living. And the bottom line is we're going to bring some people back and help us make those announcements. Dr. Elliot Green is coming back, and he and I will have a big announcement that night. And surely after November 10th, we'll have some other announcements. But the bottom line is right now, God is moving in a mighty way. And we are certainly concerned about building better families. Because Joe Biden said, build back better. We want to build better families. So how do we do that? We've been discussing marriage, and we talked about some of the major issues. I think I've said to you so many times each Sunday night, I always like to talk about my wife and I've been married 45 years. Thank God for those years. And the time that led up to our courtship and the time that followed that, and the time that we celebrated doing our marriage. So I think that what we have is something that we can share, something that's special. Things that, we do use other resources. We do use books, we read books. But then I think our main book is us. That's our main book. We have our own experiences. We've had our own challenges. We had our own mountain. And I can tell you right now, when a mountain in your life is nothing but a challenge. And then if you say, well, I'm going to let this mountain stop me. No. Just take a few more steps and get away in the mountain. So we've learned that over the years. And so we're trying to share that with you now because we want to be a better family. Because when we have better families, we have better communities. So one of the things that affects marriages that we talked about is we talk about the relationship, sexual and spiritual relationship. When the husband and wife are not in unity and spiritually, and then certainly that's going to even go over to sexual as well. But one of the major things that I've had in my counseling experience over the years has had to do with finance. One of the major things that I think that have broken up families or breaking up families over the years has to do with people not having their finance in order. People not being able to have credit scores. And I brought this about because if you remember last week, Reverend McFarland said that he decided to do an interview. He interviewed his wife and she interviewed him. And he said, you might need to find out, he said the word Negro, might need to find out what the Negro credit score is before you jump into a relationship with him or her. So I said, well, that's a good pickup right there, that we can bring this financial expert that we have with us tonight to help families, to help them and even give them some opportunities for further counseling or further talk beyond our show tonight. But at least we want to have you to actually see some things you could possibly do dealing with your finance. We have Brother Trent Bowman with us tonight, and I wanted to introduce him, but he has a long resume. And so what I decided to do is I'm going to let my son, my armor bearer, Lamar, introduce him. And Lamar, since you and Trent are such great friends, I'm going to let you introduce him and lead the discussion from here forward. I mean, ask the question. Like people can ask questions in the chat. I may jump in and ask questions, whatever. But I'm going to let you, Lamar, introduce our guest tonight and then lead us in this discussion. So, my son-in-law, I would like to say in-law, my son, Lamar Hodge. Oh, yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Russell. I really appreciate this opportunity, and I don't take it lightly. Myself and Mr. Bowman have been friends over 30 years. If I had to guess, it's 32 years. We've been really close to past 8. This is a man who has a passion for what he does. Currently, Mr. Bowman, Vice President and CER Business Developer Officer for Midwest One Bank. His background, Trent manages outreach efforts in the Minneapolis area with an emphasis on mortgage lending. His primary focus is to support affordable housing initiatives by engaging the community organizations to assess community needs and build collaborative partnerships with local nonprofit housing organizations, civic groups, and affordable housing developers to make a positive impact. With more than 20 years of experience, Trent specializes in assisting first-time home buyers achieve their dream of home ownership by guiding each client through the mortgage lending process. His community development background, Trent is a native of Minneapolis and a graduate of Minneapolis Community College. He serves on many community boards and nonprofit community boards such as National Association of Real Estate Brokers, NARAB, board members and local chapter president, Local Initiative Support Corp, LISC, advisory council member and vice chairman-elect, Neighborhood Economic Opportunity Network, NEON, board member and finance committee member, Home Ownership Opportunity Alliance, HOA, Minneapolis Urban League American Dream, FTHB facilitator, Model Cities Home Stretch, FTHB facilitator, a neighborhood partner affiliate, KIPP Minnesota Chapter School Board member and Community Development Community member, Twin Cities Chamber of Commerce, Advisory Committee, Home Ownership Opportunity Alliance, HOA, and Minnesota Housing Finance Agency Lending Advisory Committee. Wow. Mr. Bowman, how do you have time to do anything? His philosophy is, my goal is to make the dream of home ownership a reality for individuals and families in the community. We serve as a community bank. We strive to provide our clients with the information and support they need to achieve their goals. Mr. Bowman, talk to us. Who's Trent Bowman?
Thank you, Lamar, and thank you, Dr. Russell, and the Friendship Academy for having me. First and foremost, I'm just a humble gentleman from the North Side that seen differences in home ownership as a young man. When my mother originally tried to buy her first home, when she was denied very quickly, with no other options or no other opportunities to guide her into becoming a homeowner, and watching her perseverance, watching her drive, her energy, her passion to become a homeowner, I, in my humble opinion, set the blueprint for me on what I wanted to do in this field of work. Home ownership for people of color or the BIPOC community is very important. It's something that I feel brings families together. As a young man, we didn't own a home, but we had that family structure. We had that family structure where we ate dinner together. We had to do our chores, etc. But the thing that we didn't talk about, we didn't talk about finances. We didn't talk about the future. We didn't talk about credit. We didn't talk about savings. We didn't talk about, what is that common denominator that's going to allow us as a family to start to build generational wealth. Now, this is what we want to do, and this is the message that we want to teach our young people today, because, we use that term generational wealth. And what does it really mean? Do we really understand what generational wealth really means? So, my thing is let's understand generational wealth. Let's understand how generational wealth is going to lead our people into tomorrow, how it's going to educate our kids, and not only educate our kids, but even educate us as adults to be able to leave something to our children so they can keep the legacy of wealth growing within our family structure. Because right now, we don't have it. And I look at documentaries and I look at in the past, the Fords, the Rockefellers, how they all have generational wealth, how they all have that old money. How can we as a generation, how can we as a BIPOC community start to have that generation and start leaving wealth for our children and start managing that message today?
I'm gonna actually explain, Trent. What does BIPOC mean?
BIPOC is Black Ingenuous People of Color.
Okay. I'm going to go back to a statement you made about your mother. Mm-hmm. About 4 days ago on the news, there was a young lady on the news who talked about the disparity she had trying to purchase a home. Go through that for me. I think you know exactly what I'm speaking about.
Absolutely. There was a session on Channel 11 a couple of days ago, which a young lady was on the news, and she had been looking at trying to purchase a home. And this young lady had been a homeowner previous. And with all things, we run into hurdles. The black cat walks everybody's path. Nobody's exempt from it. But she wanted to be a homeowner again, and she knew she could be a homeowner again, but she just wasn't connected to the right individuals. Now, this young lady happened to reach out to me about a year ago, and she had been denied 3 times by previous lenders. So when she came to me and when we spoke, one of the things that I did is we sit down and we have a one-on-one consultation. And why do I have this one-on-one consultation? Because I want clients to understand, what it takes to be a homeowner. And I also want them to relax, and I want them to be engaged, and I want them to understand that it's never a fast no. It's always a slow yes. And what do I mean by that? When I tell somebody it's never a fast no and it's always a slow yes, I want you to understand that owning a home and getting qualified for a home is a process. This is a journey, and this journey should not be taken lightly, and you should never be given a fast answer. It should be an answer of progress. It should be an answer of future. It should be an answer to let you know that if you do the things that we ask you to do, and you also got to make some changes in some of your own personal behaviors, we will get you those keys to that house. So that's what that was all about. And when I was watching the news myself, and when I heard her say, she had met with a broker, and he sat down with me, and he said it's never a fast no, and it was a slow yes. I have to admit, I smiled because it let me know that I knew she was talking about me, and I was very humble and very honored, that she used the slogan or the statement that I used, not just with any first-time home buyers, but even when I'm speaking to people about home ownership.
Beautiful. Now, I'm going to ask you this question because everybody has myths about buying homes. They come to everybody. They go to their parents. They go to friends. They go to everybody, and they have these myths about buying homes. What's the myths about buying homes or being a homeowner, Trent?
Great question. And a lot of myths that are out there is, do I need 20% down? I think that's a huge myth because you don't need 20% down. What type of program can I qualify for? Don't qualify for FHA because FHA is a bad product. You're going to have high mortgage insurance. Credit scores. What's my credit score? But the main thing when you're hearing about myths, and sometimes we kind of do it to ourselves, because when we're buying a house, or your child is buying a house, or your friend is buying a house, and you're going out looking for a house with a friend of yours, the first thing you say was, I didn't have to do that. My loan officer didn't make me do that. We have to make sure that when we're purchasing a house, that we have to eliminate all of the outsiders. That's why it's important to have that one-on-one consultation with a loan officer. One of the craziest myths, that I know that's out there is when individuals are getting pre-qualified, and the only product that the individuals get pre-qualified for, or most of the time, the only product that they get pre-qualified for is FHA. And why is that? Why is that? One thing that we have to understand and realize that this is one of the biggest purchases we're going to make. Again, this is about building that wealth within the family structure. So you have two important numbers that are most important to you. Those two sets of numbers are your date of birth and your social security number. So why would you give that information just to a voice? To someone you've never heard, never met, someone you have not sat with, someone that has not come into your home or into your office, and you've had that chance to sit down with them on a one-on-one consultation. So don't get caught up in the myths in doing the quick pre-approval. Don't get caught up in the midst of the quick decision, because again, buying a house should never be about a 2-minute call. Buying a house should never be about going on the internet or going on your phone and looking up a lender and then plugging in some numbers, and they qualify you as, and say you're pre-approved. But what are you pre-approved for? Do you understand the products and the programs that are available out there for you? That's why it's important to meet with a loan officer and not just do this, sight unseen, and not listen to the myths that you need 20% down and the only product or program that you can qualify for is FHA.
Okay. I heard you talk about the 20% down. There's a lot of people who don't come and talk to a Trent or other brokers because they say, I'm trying to save my 20%. Mm-hmm. Is that another myth, Trent?
Yeah, because you don't need to save 20%. But what I will say you want to have some assets when you're purchasing a home. You don't want to You don't want to go into buying a house with no assets. I usually try to tell people you should have a minimum of at least 3 to 5%. Now, will you have to use that 3 to 5%? Maybe not. Maybe not. With all the programs that are available for you and that are out there for you, this is why it's so important to understand, the programs that you can qualify for. Because, 3% down, because you are going to have out-of-pocket expenses. Let me back up just a second there. You are going to have out-of-pocket expenses. So when you're buying a house, it's not free. So let's just be real on that. It's not free. You are going to have expenses. You're going to have earnest money. Earnest money can be anywhere from $500 to $1,000. You're going to have to pay for the appraisal. The appraisal can be anywhere from $480 to $500. You're going to have to pay for a home inspection. A home inspection can run anywhere from $275 to $350 or $375. These are your out-of-pocket expenses. So we always try to tell clients, out of pocket, you're going to need at least a minimum of the $2,000. But as far as the whole structure of purchasing a home, yes, I believe you should have at least 3 to 5% of your own funds, even if you don't have to use it. That's very important. Even if you don't have to use it, because you are going to need to have reserves. And reserves are based on your principal, interest, taxes, and insurance based on your monthly payment. Lenders want to make sure or see that you have at least 30 or 60 days reserves based on what that minimum payment would be. And that would be included in that 3 to 5% that you should have of your own funds. And I always throw a question out to individuals. If you've got a 750 credit score, you make a good living, but you have $100 in your checking account and you have $100 in your savings account and you have no 401k, now we have to ask ourselves that question. Am I ready? Am I ready to buy a house today? And the answer is you may not be ready today, but we are going to get you ready for tomorrow so you can start putting those assets away and start saving that money so you can be prepared to be able to purchase that home for tomorrow. Now, remember, we didn't give you a no. We didn't say you don't have the assets, come see us then. No, we're going to guide you. We're going to work with you. And with the partners and the organizations that I work with, we're going to, kind of guide you in that changing of that behavior, of that spending pattern, so we can start being more ready to purchase a home.
Beautiful. Now, let's talk for a moment, Trent, about the importance of consistent employment. A lot of people get that confused. Let's talk for a minute about consistent employment.
Good question. Employment, again, stability of income. Employment is so important, and the banks, the banks rely on this. If you're working a job, and you've been on that job for a minimum of 2 years, that is stable employment. Some people, and I've had this scenario happen to me many years ago when I was still originating, where I had a gentleman who worked, he had a job and he had consistent jobs, but he had different jobs for 2 years. This individual, I believe, had like 15 or 16 different jobs. So he worked the job for 3 months, he worked the job for 4 months, he worked the job for 5 months. And I was still under the impression, hey, he's working. But there was an underwriter that really educated me on that and said, well, Trent, this gentleman, yes, he works, but he hasn't been anywhere for at least a year. At least a year. So there really isn't that longevity, that stability. I always like to share this story when it comes to employment, because when I was younger, I used to, I would get a job. I worked that job for about 5 or 6 months. Then I would quit that job and I'd get me another job. And, my mom had said, she says, oh boy, why do you keep quitting jobs? And I said, because Mom, it's going to help my resume. And she said, no, it's not, fool. What's going to help your resume is by staying at one job and growing at that job, getting promoted at that job. That's stability. So when I look at and work and talk with individuals and they've been on a job for 6 or 7 years, 8 years or longer, that stability is what's so important. And believe it or not, underwriters value that. That is very important in the home purchasing dynamics here in this industry.
All right, I'm going to turn another page. Let's talk about something that our families have a hard time talking about: credit. You know, a lot of people have a hard time talking about credit. Let's talk about the importance of credit and how does it impact what we do.
Lamar, credit is, in my opinion, credit is king. Credit is, you know, I like to say this is the guide. You know, this is what's going to, you know, help you purchase homes. Credit is what's going to help you get a job. It's going to have an impact on your insurance rate. They're using credit now as really the formula of who you are as an individual, your ability to pay somebody back. That's why I call credit is king. Credit is a way, you know, where you buy products or services now and you pay for them later. You know, credit includes, you know, mortgage, credit cards, personal loans, because when you get the product or service, before you pay for it, you are often, because you're going to be charged interest, you know, and when you're charged that interest, you know, that's what's going to, you know, lead to your credit scores. So when we're looking at a client and we're trying to determine, you know, which product or program this person is going to qualify for, we're going to look at that credit score. And one of the things that have an impact, you know, on the programs is the score, because again, the higher your credit score, the more opportunities that will open up for you. The lower your credit scores, I'm not saying opportunities won't open, but they're very minimal. Now let's talk about credit in the perspective of getting a loan, getting financing, or getting approved for a mortgage. Again, when you have, you know, when you have higher credit scores, it just opens up the doors to conventional products, FHA products, portfolio products within the lending circle or the bank circle, because a lot of banks have a portfolio product that is a conventional product with no mortgage insurance, and it's based and generated based on that credit score. Credits, you know, when we talk to people about credit, we talk about the utilization of credit. How are you using that credit? How is that credit going to impact the credit score? How many trade lines do you have? You know, we have gotten into this society. You know, when we turn the TV on, what do we see? Where it's being marketed. Credit is being marketed as a status, as who you know, on who you are today. What's in your pocket? Earning, you know, earning 3% on this. I'm earning 5% on this. If you're, you know, one question I always ask people is, how many times or have you ever gotten a check from a credit card company? Have you ever gotten a check from a credit card company? So let's not get caught up in that credit trap. You know, utilization of credit is what increases your scores. And what do I mean by utilization? So 20%, if you're in that, and that's 20% based on your credit line versus your balance. So if you've got $1,000 credit line and your balance is $900, and you've got another credit card with a credit line of $500 and your balance is $475, and you have another credit card and your balance is $1,500 and your balance is $1,400, and you're just making minimum payments, a lot of people will say, well, Trent, how come my credit scores aren't going up? Because your utilization of your credit is over 20%. You know, some people it kind of goes back and forth. Some people say 30%. I say 20%. I'm going to challenge you. I want you to be at 20%, because once you have that credit at 20%, you'll start to see your credit scores go up. Number two, people say, well, if I open up an account and I charge $300 and I pay the $300, how come my scores aren't going up? Well, the systems can't measure zero. What's it measuring? If you charge $300 and you pay $300, what's it measuring? So therefore, your scores are it's gonna be flat. You know, it's not going to rise, but it won't go down, but it won't rise. Inquiries. How many times are you applying for different types of credit? Inquiries are hard hits, and they will bring your credit scores down. Understand what your credit scores are. There are too many systems, and there's too much information out here where we should all know what our scores are. So when you go and meet with a finance person or a loan officer or an individual, and they ask you what your credit scores are, you should never be, I don't know, or I really haven't pulled it. There's too much information, and we should all have an idea of how we're spending. That's kind of your budget, you know. I mean, and this takes time. This takes kind of a changing of that mind state. You know, for myself, I used to have a number of different credit cards, didn't manage them correctly. You know, I found myself robbing Peter to save Paul. So, you know, so when someone asked me what my credit score was, I always knew I had low credit scores. But when you're managing your credit, you're at that 20% utilization, you're not applying for credit cards that you don't even need. This is what's going to help you and generate, you know, that wealth in the future. Because what's the purpose of making good money and all your extra money that you're getting is going to paying off debt? That doesn't make any sense, but this is what we've gotten caught up in. That's why it's so important to manage that credit, to not have more credit than what you need. Higher credit scores is the way. That's to me is the ultimate, and that's why I'm always saying credit is king. Again, and I get into debates with other loan officers about this, because there are lenders out there that will get you a loan with a 600 credit score. There are loan officers that'll get you a mortgage with a 620 credit score. But would you rather have a 720 credit score or better and have a better interest rate and no mortgage insurance? Or would you rather have a 620 or a 640 credit score and have a higher rate with mortgage insurance? That's why I always say buying a house is a journey. Take your time. They're not going anywhere. But that credit is what's going to get you to those best products and those awesome programs.
Now, you just made a statement about something that a lot of people don't understand about. You have to please explain what mortgage insurance is.
Great, absolutely. Mortgage insurance is an additional payment to your bottom line mortgage. So your mortgage payment, your payment is based on 4 principles: principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. And mortgage insurance is basically when you're putting less than 20% down. So if you're buying a house and you happen to put 20% down, you won't have any mortgage insurance. But if you're putting 5%, 10%, 15% down, then you will have mortgage insurance. And how high that mortgage insurance premium will be is based on what? You can go ahead and say it: credit. If your credit scores are high, the mortgage insurance premium is going to be really, really reasonable. But if your credit scores are low, your mortgage insurance is going to be higher. But there are programs. There are programs out there that banks have that are conventional with no mortgage insurance. But again, it all depends on credit.
Beautiful. Now, we've explained a lot of stuff here, Trent. We're going to get into the help part right now. Mm-hmm. What type of down payment assistance is available for first-time homeowners right now?
Great question, Lamar. And there's a number of different down payment assistance programs that are out there. The number one program that's out there, in my opinion, is the state of Minnesota, or Minnesota Housing, which is MHFA. And they have 2 programs. One is called the Startup, and the other one is called the Step Up. The Startup program is a conventional product that will get individuals or family households up to $17,000 in certain cases. So based on your income, based on the 1 to 2 person household, I think it's $76,000. And then if you're a single person in your head of household, you can get $15,000 through Minnesota Housing. But here's what's important. Down payment assistance money is not free, okay? It will be secured against your property, and it will be secured against your property in some cases for the term of the loan at 0% interest. It's 0% interest. So that's Minnesota Housing. Minnesota Housing also has kind of I like to call it the sister of the down payment programs, and that's called the Step Up program. So this program is generated for individuals whose household income may be a little higher than the actual 80% of the area median income based on the household income. That you can still get up to $17,000 in down payment assistance, but here's the difference. There will be a monthly payment on that down payment, and that monthly payment will be amortized out over 10 years based on the interest rate of the first mortgage that you've been pre-qualified for. Other programs that are available out there, Hennepin County has a $10,000 program, but you have to have gone and worked with a financial or a nonprofit organization like a PPL, which stands for Project Pride and Living, Minneapolis Urban League, PRG, NeighborWorks. These are programs financial wellness programs that you will do one-on-one counseling with the counselors. And as long as you have done this 3 months prior to getting prior to writing a purchase agreement, you will be eligible to get $10,000 provided funds are still available. So remember, a lot of these down payment assistance programs are kind of first come, first serve, and it's based on the availability of funds. Minneapolis Home is another $10,000 down payment assistance program, but you have to buy in the city of Minneapolis, okay? Because again, we're always trying to grow and build the city of Minneapolis. And again, it's kind of the same format as the Hennepin County program. And you also would have to take a first-time homebuyers class too. So there's a number of first-time homebuyer classes. The Homeownership Center has a website, HOC, Minnesota HOC, where you can find out who's teaching the different first-time homebuyer courses. I have taught these classes with the Urban League. I've also taught these classes with PPL as well, PRG, Minneapolis Urban League, and NeighborWorks. And it's an all-day class. And they bring in different speakers in different chapters. And then there's an online course that you could take as well called Frameworks, and that's an online course. Brooklyn Park, believe it or not, has a down payment assistance. Matter of fact, we just closed on a loan a couple of months ago for a young lady who, again, she was looking for she went on her journey of home ownership. She followed all the steps, everything we talked to her about, and she was able to one of the programs that we have at the bank here. I guess I could promote it since I have me on your call. Is we have a 100% program. So this young lady was able to utilize our 100% program and get her closing costs covered through the Brooklyn Park, through the Energy Economic Center. So that's another option. Woodbury has down payment assistance. St. Louis Park has down payment assistance. But again, a lot of people, especially people in our community, they don't know about the down payment assistance programs. Because because the loan officers are not educating these clients that they have access to these down payment assistance programs. So I always like to, when I talk to individuals and anybody that's on this call, when you're on that journey for home ownership, you got to ask yourself, is this loan officer looking to build a relationship with you, or is this loan officer trying to get a commission check? Same for a real estate agent. Is this real estate agent trying to build a relationship with you, or just get a commission check? And don't get me wrong, I understand we got to eat. People got to get paid, and I get that. But you know what? But if you're going to work in this circle of business, if you're going to work with first-time home buyers and you want to make a difference, then you should be educated as a finance person and guide your client the information that they rightfully deserve. One of the things I always try to tell anyone that talks to me in any class that I teach is, who has the power? Who has the power? The consumer. You have the power. You need to utilize the power that you have, but you don't know the power. You don't understand your wealth. You don't understand your value, because we listen to the outsiders, and someone tells you to call this person, and you call this person, and this person just basically gives you a pre-approval, and that's what you go on. I can't tell you how many times I've taught a class and asked individuals, have they talked to you about down payment money that is possibly available for them? And 9 times out of 10, they all say, no, we didn't even know it was available. Do your research, because it's out there. There's a lot of money that you can use to help you purchase your first home and keep your 3 to 5% in your pocket, and grow that 3 to 5%. Not just take that 3 to 5% and go on vacation or go buy a new car or what may have you. Take that 3 to 5%, because now you've developed that discipline, and take that 3 to 5% and keep growing that 3 to 5%. So now your reserves are stronger. If there's any repairs that you need for your home, you have that money now. You don't have to worry about putting it on a credit card or financing it, because you've been so diligently savvy enough now to start saving and building on that 3 to 5%. But the down payment assistance programs, there's so much out there that we just need to be more educated, and loan officers and real estate agents, and in this whole industry, we need to better work together. Especially for the common goal of the first-time home buyer.
Beautiful. Real quick, and I know a lot of listeners are wondering, that money that's available, is it stackable, Trent?
Great question. Yes, it is. It is stackable. But I will also caution on layering down payment assistance money. Why? Why do we need to be careful with layering down payment assistance money when you're a first-time home buyer? What's one of the things that we talked about right in the beginning? We talked about generational wealth. What starts to build generational wealth is equity. Equity in your home. So if I'm a first-time home buyer and I have a first mortgage, a second mortgage, and a third mortgage, and they're all secured against my property, and none of these mortgages are forgiven, and none of them are going to go zero, but they're all term for 30 years. Am I building equity now?
No.
Yeah. I mean, you are, but very, 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 very slow.
Mm-hmm.
But what happens if you need to do a home equity line, in 5 years? What's the value of that house? Is that house going to increase? If you buy a $250,000 house today, and you've got $250,000 worth of mortgages that are secured against the property, they got to get paid first. So when you go to get a home equity line, at some point you might not have the equity. So use what you need. Getting more down payment assistance money, and again, and this goes back to another myth. Getting more down payment assistance money does not help you buy more house or buy a more expensive house. No. That's not what down payment assistance was created for. Down payment was created to help you buy the dream home you can afford, and not layer on top of the dream home that you can afford with multiple down payment assistance money. So, great question.
Beautiful. Now, you and I have always had this philosophy, Trent, when it comes to your real estate agent, your broker, your bank, anything that has to do with your finances. The most important thing is relationships.
Exactly.
Talk to me about relationships with these entities.
I think that's what we're missing. Remember what I said earlier. When you're working with someone, are they trying to build a relationship with you, or are they trying to get a commission check with you? In the relationship aspect of this business is so important, and I just feel right now we've gotten away from it. We've gotten away from it. The consumer, like I said, the consumer is the number one person in this whole and this whole formula of home ownership, because this is who we all work for, right? Without the consumer, the lender, the loan officer, he or she can't make any money. Without the consumer, the real estate agent can't list or show a home. So if we don't have a relationship with each other, and we're all acting as individual entities trying to see who holds the most weight or who has the most authority, at the end of the day, who suffers from this? The consumer. This is why it's so important for the consumer to interview different loan officers. It's important for the consumer to interview different real estate agents or brokers or whomever it be, to understand if this individual has their best interest at heart. And how do you know when they have their best interest at heart? Because a good loan officer and a good real estate agent are going to, let's start with a good loan officer first. A good loan officer is going to bring you in. You're going to have that one-on-one consultation where you're going to talk about all the elements of what it takes to buy a house. Down payment, lender fees, title company fees, prepaids, that's taxes and insurance, and broker administration fee. That lender is going to break each one of those elements down to you as a home buyer. Number two, that loan officer is also going to talk to you about the different programs that you can possibly qualify you for. Conventional, portfolio, home ready, home possible. These are all other types of conventional programs. VA, are they going to ask you, are you a vet? Have you served this country? Do you know that we have a VA program at 100% financing with no mortgage insurance? A good loan officer building a relationship with you is going to try to get to know you. Is going to try to get to understand, what are your habits? What's affordable for you? If you're paying rent at $1,200, where do you see your mortgage payment at? And then that loan officer is going to start structuring an estimate on keeping that individual based, in their element on what they can qualify for, not what that originator wants to make. A lot of times people will get a pre-approved because of their income. They make $80,000. They gross $80,000 a year. They get a pre-approval letter. Hey, you qualify for $400,000. You qualify for a $400,000 purchase price, but can you afford a $400,000 purchase? Again, a good loan officer is going to break these numbers down. They're going to break it down into the point of, we qualify you on your gross, but you pay your payments based on your net. A good real estate agent is going to show the client the houses that they can afford and not exceed that purchase price amount. So if we pre-approve a client for $250, a good agent isn't going to show that client $250 right out of the gate, right? Because if you show somebody, our eyes see what our eyes want to see, and then we like what we want to see right out of the gate. So if I see $250 right out of the gate, I'm never going to like $250. But if that real estate agent works that client up to $250, you can find a gold mine at $180. You can find a diamond in the rough at $190. That's the relationship aspect. That's where everybody's kind of working together for the common goal of making sure that consumer gets the house that they can afford. And what I mean by what they can afford, maintain the lifestyle.
Beautiful.
We don't think about that, maintaining that lifestyle, because if we can't maintain lifestyle and we can't build and we can't save, and we have a house that we're just making a mortgage payment and we can't do anything, did we serve that client right?
Good stuff. Listen, in the essence of time, Trent, it's about 6:52 right now, man, and we haven't even gotten the meats and bones of this thing. I'm gonna bring Dr. Russell back. This is a series that I want to continue some more with. But I'm gonna bring the doc back and see if there's any questions and how does he want to move forward. It's about 6:52 right now, and like I said, we haven't even gotten to the meat and bones of this thing. But I'm real excited about what I'm hearing, Dr. Russ.
Thank you, Lamar. Listen, thank you, Trent, for what you have been able to do for us and the enlightenment you've given us tonight on this very important subject. As I said from the very beginning, this is where a lot of couples that I have a chance to counsel, a lot of families that I counsel, this is where many of them struggle, and it has to do with finance. Trust me, when I say that, people can be as religious, as full of the Holy Ghost if they want to, but if their finances are out of order, there's struggle in that household. I've seen this over the last 40 years. So my goal is now to try to help people get in better shape finances with their finances. And especially, you know, with the work we're doing in ministry. Listen, I want to be able to talk to pastors and to other people in ministry leadership positions to help them know how important it is that they keep their finances straight, so that when it comes time to do like I did, retire, then you can be able to do that with dignity. So we want to thank you for what you've done so far. But now, let me ask you: can you help people when it comes? You mentioned something about budgeting. Mm-hmm. Do you actually do counseling on how a family how to budget, or somebody? I mean, before they come in and want to talk about a house. I mean, or they not even talk about a house. What can you deal with family budgeting from the very beginning?
When it comes to the family budgeting, Dr. Russell, I usually refer those individuals to my partner over at PPL,
you got
Henry Rucker.
Okay.
Yep, I refer those to Henry Rucker. Then Henry Rucker and PPL will put them through a financial empowerment course and kind of guide them through, you know, building and restructuring and getting their credit positions right, not just their credit, but even saving, you know, that discipline and start as far as putting money away. And then when they get ready, they get to the next, they circle them right back to us. And then we'll come back and do that one-on-one consultation to see where the affordability and what they can afford when it comes to purchasing a home.
Well, one of those 12 hours that a couple has to have when they talk about getting married, going to the state of Minnesota in order to get that reduced fee license, one of those areas is in finance. And they require us to actually spend about 2 hours with couples talking about finance and actually teaching them how to budget, to at least talking to them about, because they know, even downtown, they know that finances has been a big issue when it comes down to couples staying together. And like Reverend McFarland said last week, he realized, you know, as they went into it for his second time around, he said, I better do an interview here because I need to know. I don't want to go down the same road again. So he showed us the importance of being able to look at each other's finance before you jump in this up, and both of you all got bad finance. It's bad enough, you know, if one of you got some issues going on and you hadn't talked about it, because a lot of times that's what happens. You wait till you get into a situation, get married, the date doesn't happen, and all of a sudden, surprise, I can't get nothing. I can't buy nothing. You know, my name can't be used. And then there goes the struggles right there. So
and I like to elaborate and add on to that too, Dr. Russell, because I think that it's an excellent point. And I that's one of the things I've always said too. I said, well, if I ever meet someone and we be able, if we're gonna, you know, merge our resources, that's the first thing I always say. What's your credit score? What's your credit score? So Mr. McFarland, Reverend Dr. McFarland, whoever that gentleman was, you know, people think it's funny, but it's a reality, you know, because when you marry somebody and they have bad debt, you've just married that bad debt. And I see it so often when we do a consultation with a married couple, only one person can be on the loan because the other person's credit is so messed up. And what that has done is really, it splits your buying power. And actually it declines your buying power, because if you both had solid credit based on great income together, then the opportunities for you for affordability and to be able to afford something nice is even so much greater. So, you know, that's that hard question that couples don't want to talk about. They don't want to talk about.
They don't want to talk about. Yeah.
Right. You don't need to know my finances. Oh, yes, I do. I need to know, can you save? I need to know what do you have in your savings account, in your checking account? Because if we're going to merge our resources together, these are going to be things that we have to talk to a loan officer about, and there cannot be any surprises.
Thank you so much. Listen, I know that there's so many other things we could ask, but we're going to go ahead and close out. But listen, you're going to come back and talk again, and actually want to ask you tonight to be a part of this big workshop we're doing. So not only will we be talking about ministry, but we're going to talk about a big part of the ministry, which is dealing with finance. So we'll be talking to you more about that, to be a part of this great workshop, because what you're saying tonight, there's no situation so bad that can't be fixed.
Exactly.
And
now it will be my pleasure.
There's your information there on the that it just put up. If anybody want to get in touch with Trent for further conversation, there's the information right there that just came up on the screen, and you can reach out to him at any time. I'm sure that he'll be glad to sit down and have that one-on-one personal talk with you. So again tonight, Trent, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Now we look forward to seeing you on next week. Well, Tuesday night. First of all, I'll be on with Judge June Lane, and Shelby, if you can send that information around, showing the people the program I'll be on, talking about the history of the Black church in Minneapolis, St. Paul, and around the country. I'll be doing that on Tuesday night with Judge June Lane on her program, and then on next Sunday, same time, we're gonna have Senator Bobby Joe Champion going to be on with us. They have a big election coming up November 2nd. And some questions that people still have. And guess what? I can tell you now whether to vote yes or no. I can tell you that. If you join with me next week, I'm going to tell you and not have no shame about myself. I can tell you, and can't nobody do nothing about it. So I'm going to ask Bobby Joe Champion to come in and talk to us about all these issues that's on this election, with the election in Minneapolis and St. Paul and across Minnesota, and some things that's coming to pass. Even tomorrow, guess what? I got a conversation with the governor. I got a conversation. I can tell you exact time. I'll be talking with the governor at 1 o'clock tomorrow about some changes, some big things that's coming down the pipe. So I'll share that with you also next Sunday. But Senator Bobby Joe Champion will be on the program with me next Sunday night. And then mark your calendar, the first Sunday night, Dr. Elliot Miller Green is coming back to us again on the first Sunday night in November. So again, thank you. Thank everybody for joining. And we'll see you next week. God bless you.